Can you hear me?
Hi, Anna.
It's not, doesn't.
We can hear you.
Okie dokie. That's the important part.
She's just doing.
There we are.
There she is.
Trying to get you spotlighted. How are you doing?
I'm a bit tired, but I'm here.
Well, welcome. Anna,
Sorry.
we asked. I know I tried to send you a text with the link, but I guess you were looking on email.
Lisa finally nailed it.
Good. Very good. Excellent. Well, Anna, how would you like to begin today?
Well, obviously, folks, the world is crazy. Okay. The Ayatollah Khomeini is dead. Benjamin Netanyahu is dead. And we're left with a conflict in the Middle East that is just crazy, out of control, weird. When you start adding all the facts together, it looks very much like a pre-planned takedown of Israel. Because the Brits knew that the Iranians had these missiles that rendered the American missile defense systems useless. So attacking Iran gave Iran the okay to attack Israel. And here you have it. Iran is basically carpet bombing Israel the same way that Israel carpet bombed Gaza. And all of that very expensive equipment we bought and that the Arab states bought, the state-of-the-art radars and all that. Well, all of that was rendered obsolete by the new missile technology. So it became a bad investment. And what they're trying to do is destroy that obsolete equipment and charge it off to us as war reparations. Isn't that sweet of them? So my job is to prevent that from happening. And they are trying to say that this had something to do with defending our country. But that really isn't true. And so anyway, I'm opposing the Monroe Doctrine application in this case. And a lot of other people who are experts in both military and diplomacy and international relations are all looking at the same facts I am, and they're all saying the same thing. It had nothing to do with defending this country. It had everything to do with targeting Israel and everything to do with trying to recoup losses on equipment. So that part of it is going on off into history. And I think we all take the message that those who live by the sword die by the sword. I have been listening to Benjamin Netanyahu calling for war, 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 and more war for the last 25 years. And I guess he finally got what he wanted. Anyway, it's a terrible situation and it's not going to be over real soon. But it is what it is. We continue to do what we need to do. We continue to act in good faith. We take care of our own knitting and keep our little noses on that grindstone so that a better day can come. Now, we do have a lot of forward motion on the part of the banks. I'm waiting for the final okay to issue the international public notice announcing the opening of our vendor system so that you'll be able to buy and sell with all of 30,000 some vendors using your accounts in the new bank system. We're also working with numerous other groups worldwide to open up all of the other currencies and other supplier links so that you'll be able to directly buy and sell on a worldwide basis. Okay, guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. That sounds a whole lot better, Anna.
Anna,
Okay,
you're
There.
still,
sorry.
you're-
Now I got
you're-
you back on the spotlight. There we go.
we still
But-
have you on 2 times, Anna. So
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna go.
remove the other one. Yeah,
Okay.
that should fix it.
Yeah, I don't know. I look back and forth and X'd out of everything, and here we are.
Well,
No
now
mirrors in the room.
now we fixed it to where it's just the one of you. So let's see how that goes.
I was just recalling that some important things about mirrors in the 19th century. They had a special technology where the mirror was so exact that you couldn't tell the difference except by noting the orientation.
Mhm.
And this is in the 1900s. We can't replicate that today. There are a lot of things like that that we cannot do today that were commonplace in the 1900s. So, and 1800s.
Mhm.
So this is really interesting to me that there are all these lost abilities and technologies that suddenly we don't know how to do it anymore. We really have lost a lot just simply by not paying attention and not bringing forward artisan craftsmanship. So let that be a lesson to us going forward, that when we have people that are doing exceptional things in terms of woodworking and metal craft and glass blowing and other things that are not, you know, standardized professions, which are nonetheless high forms of art and ability, technology of various kinds and tools of various kinds that are being lost every day.
Yeah,
We
America
need-
was built on these skilled tradesmen, weren't they, Anna? We're working on helping those people learn how to be able to operate in an unincorporated fashion.
Right, right. And we need to put some muscle behind those trades in terms of buying from people that are producing things that are no longer that obvious. I mean, like wooden barrels. We're losing our traditional wooden barrels. But, you know, cooperage is a very ancient, time-honored trade. And we need to preserve our coopers. We need to have more people that are producing and buying wooden barrels, just traditional wooden barrels. If it weren't for the wine industry, it'd already be gone. So, you know, that's just one example. And the example of the mirrors is another. We cannot produce the quality of mirror that they had back in 1890. And that should be a message to us. Imagine what that does to things like the Hubble telescope, you know, and other sorts of technologies that require mirrors. If we can't produce high quality non-distortion mirrors, we've already taken a hit, right? So lots of interesting things like that are coming to the fore in all the discussions that are going on worldwide. And there are lots of people all over the world that are involved in the same sorts of discussions that we're having, who are undergoing the same process of rebooting their traditional national governments. Lots of people who are waking up to all sorts of things that have been there all along, but nobody was noticing. So don't be surprised as you go forward in the next few weeks, where you see discussions about things and you go, I never saw that before. Oh, I never thought about that before. And suddenly, just as we've kind of awakened and brought forward about our government and how it should be working versus how it is working, you're going to be seeing that same process echoing back to you in all sorts of fields of endeavor, where you are going to learn about things that are at once inspiring and shocking, because it's going to underline for you the value of your humanness.
Things have gone south, and then Jake becomes a liability. So.
Hey, we've
Yeah.
got a live mic here somewhere.
Anna, if you can unmute yourself, I got the mic, but there's people walking in the room pretty quick as well.
Okay, there. Is that better?
Thank you.
All right, so just be aware that this is going to happen to you over the next few weeks, where you're going to be just toddling about your work and your world, and you're going to suddenly have this deja vu moment or this aha moment where something that you're not even expecting is going to lift its head and say, and you'll be amazed, but it will underline the value of humanness. And it will also bring forward the limits and the nature of AI, artificial intelligence. Because it's not like AI is evil. It's just that it has real limits. And we're not going to realize those limits right away. This is a learning process. So kind of keep your eye on the ball with AI and realize when it's being taxed beyond its abilities and when it's being trusted beyond what it should be trusted. Because remember, AI is only as good as the information that's plugged into it. And it's sort of an object lesson for us, frankly, because we've been suffering under some of the same limitations ourselves when we just sit back and placidly absorb what's being programmed in and don't evaluate it and don't observe. We have the same identical problems that AI has. So there's a thought for you. But today I was talking about AI and about the use of AI to create these perfect scripts or perfect correspondences. Well, there are times when you just want to hear from the individual human being, right? You don't care if it's perfect. You don't care if they spell a word wrong. You want that authenticity. You want that direct connection. And that's important. We have lost a lot of that in our lives now. We've lost connection with our food. I had a long conversation with a food analyst. You ever heard of a food analyst? This is a professional person, a food scientist, who has devoted their life and their education to evaluating modern food. And the results are shocking because it shows a long-term pattern of degrading our food sources and increasing sugar. You know, you look at it and you almost have to wonder if the sugar lobby was in there greasing palms, because the amount of sugar that we eat now is something like 8 times what people ate 200 years ago. And everything has sugar in it because sugar is addictive. Sugar is literally addictive. It's like a drug. And so they've been lacing our food with sugar. They've been taking nutrients out of our food. They've been breeding it out of our food crops. They have been arbitrarily changing the genetics of things at an incredible rate. I think the example that he gave was that wheat originally had 4 chromosomes, and now it has 23. So that's just one example of how our food has been tampered with, changed, and how it has a completely different character now than it did even a couple hundred years ago. So be thinking about all these things as you're making your food and buying choices, because ultimately the consumer is king. Ultimately, we vote with what we buy. We vote with what we eat. And to the extent that we haven't been paying attention, we really, really need to. I know that Neethy's right out there in the front ranks of those fighting for better food sources and better relationships, more of a food to table relationship with those who actually produce food. And this is certainly something that we can all support for our own families and for our own benefit, our health, and in the end, our wealth. Because even though a lot of these things are cheaper, they're not better. The obesity that has plagued our nation and Western Europe is largely caused by eating too much sugar and too much carbohydrate foodstuffs. And it's having its due effect on our health. So when you see statistics where something like 62% of Americans have some form of diabetes, it's time to stop. It's time to evaluate what's going on here, who is driving our food sources, and why aren't things different? Why are we being just left to suffer whatever consequences with no oversight? Well, guess what? I just found this out. The Food and Drug Administration, right? You think, oh, well, they're there as a watchdog to make sure that, food and drug products are what they should be, right? No. It turns out that the only products that the USDA or the FDA can approve are products that are going to result in profit for a corporation.
The patented items, right, Anna?
Not just the patent, I'm talking about FDA approval.
Right. They're the ones who, yeah.
They cannot approve anything that isn't going to result in profit specifically for a corporation. So if it's going to profit you, no, they can't even entertain that as an approval. Unless it's going to benefit and result in profit for a corporation, they cannot approve a product. Which in a way makes USDA and FDA approval meaningless, because so many things just drop through that giant crack as, a good product, but isn't going to result in profit for a corporation, therefore can't even be considered for approval. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. What about when we're nationalizing all of these businesses? Then it's not going to profiteer for the corporations then either, right?
Well, you'll see a lot of products disappearing from the shelves. Has anyone seen Skippy peanut butter lately?
While you're on the topic of all of that, Anna, can we please address the chemical sugars? Because a lot of people avoid sugar by using a chemical sugar substitute, which is 10 times more dangerous and more addictive even than just regular sugar.
Yeah, aspartame is bad. Splenda. These are all things that were laboratory created to mimic the effect or the taste of sugar. Stevia is a good option if you can get pure stevia. But for the most part, the things that you see advertised and sold as stevia is actually another form of, laboratory created sweetener that has a little bit of stevia in it. It's not pure stevia. So you have to be kind of on your guard and making sure that what you're actually buying and what you're taking in is what it says it is by looking at the ingredients. So yeah, stevia is an option, but only good natural stevia, and that's hard to find. It's sort of like canola oil. Good organic canola oil is an excellent oil, but you can't find it. It's all been cut with other kinds of oils so that, you know, they advertise it as canola oil, but it's not really canola oil. Same thing with olive oil. They advertise it as olive oil, and to all intents and purposes, it looks like olive oil, but it's not. It's been adulterated with other kinds of oil, and fillers have been used so that it's no longer what it purports to be. So you have to look at that with stevia too. One of the surprising things that I've been reading about are naturally occurring sugars that are harder to actually produce. Ribose is a naturally occurring sugar, and it turns out that it has an important role in building collagen in your body. And so even adding a small amount of ribose to your daily consumption of sugar, it's not a typical sugar, but if you even have a teaspoon of ribose a day, it will improve your collagen building throughout your body. So that helps keep your joints and everything working the way they should. Who knew? If you're, so there are good sugars and bad sugars and sugars that we just don't need as much of as we have. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I see sugar listed as a ingredient on a can of tomatoes, something is rotten in Denmark. You know, since when do we need sugar? And in something like some canned tomatoes. Why is
That's
it
like
there?
when they put the wheat in the ketchup. Why?
Right.
You don't need wheat and ketchup or fermented soy sauce, even like the actual natural stuff, and like everybody's saying in the comments too, natural maple, natural honey. There's so many other wonderful sweeteners that people could use. And maple is mineral dense.
Yeah, well, and people often ask me, you're 70 years old. How do you stay so young? How do you stay so sprightly? How do you move around so easily? How do you have so much energy? Well, for years and years and years, I haven't been taking in large quantities of wheat and sugar.
Right.
So, if you think about your health and you think about what you're ingesting and why you're eating it, and what kinds of predilections you know of in your own body. For example, I know that I have problems with thyroid. I have an inherited thyroid problem. Okay, so then I have to make a greater effort to go find sources of dietary iodine. Okay, so I go find sources of dietary iodine. I may not like the taste, but I chew my little bit of red seaweed dulse every day. And, I keep my body running by concentrating on what it needs to run. And when should these nutrients be getting into the cycle? Because at night, your body repairs. During the day, it's go, 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 action, action, action. And, during the day, that's when you should be bending and stretching and doing all the things that you have to do to live. And at night, you should be resting, right? Well, this is a good theory for me, right? Because I have to be up at all times and hours of the day and night. But at least I know better, right? And when I'm not required to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning at some meeting on the other side of the world, right? I make sure that I get the building blocks ready. It's like a construction project. Your body is a construction project. It's forever and ever going onward. And in order to produce all of the different compounds and molecules that your body needs to produce to work at an optimum level, you have to have all the different pieces. It's like a construction project where you need fresh cement, you need bricks, you need mortar, you need rebar, you need this, you need that, you need that. You have to have all that assembled, ready to go, or you can't finish your project. Right? You can't finish what you were supposed to do if you are lacking even one of the components. It's the same thing in your body. If your body's going to work the way it should, you have to have at least a minimum of all the minerals and nutrients that your body needs to regenerate itself. And what happens as we get older is that we're less able to extract this from our food sources. And at the same time, our food sources are being degraded. So it becomes a harder endeavor. It takes more time. It takes more attention for you to pay attention to your body and make sure that you're getting all the nutrients you need. You can still do it, but you have to actually think about it. When you were 20, you didn't have to think about it as much. And that's because when you were 20, for me, that's 50 years ago, right? The food sources were a lot purer. The food sources were not contaminated with so much gunk. And so you didn't have to struggle as hard either to get your nutrients. Anyway, the biggest piece of advice I can give everyone is pay attention to your food and make buying decisions according to the quality of the food, the nature of the food, and its actual nutritional value. It's going to be increasingly important as we go forward that we all pay attention and buy according to what's good for us, right?
Correct. Correct.
So
Are we ready to get to some questions, Anna?
we are.
All right. Well, I see Rocky Roper is first on my list. Welcome, Rocky.
Hello. How you guys doing? Remember we were talking about the LRO and getting some people signed up? Well, we're still not able to do that. And remember I was telling you about the LRO I'm writing. It'll be done this month, the end of this month. So we're going to use whatever resources, either newspapers, GFG, the software I wrote, until we can get access to something else. I don't know why it's so hard to get things done. It just seems like, it's like if the LRO wants us to use it, they would let us in. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see what the problem is or why we're having so much issues, trying to get people to be recording secretaries. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think that the actual problem is with the individuals becoming recording secretaries.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's with a basic misunderstanding that some coordinators at the state level have, that they are responsible for organizing the counties, and they're not. The state assemblies think it's their business to organize the counties. But in effect, it's the members of the state assembly who are responsible for organizing their counties.
Right.
So there's this kind of break in their hierarchy mindset. They think that the state assembly has to organize the county, but in effect, the county is supposed to be organizing itself. And the people that are part of the state assembly are also part of their county assembly, right?
Right.
And so there really shouldn't be any problem for someone who spends most of their time organizing their county being a state recording secretary.
I agree with you. It's like we need to get more people involved and more people in the assemblies. And the way to do it is through the recording secretary, right?
Well, and
So,
outreach and making it a
right.
fun endeavor instead of making it some sort of big politic thing. In my way of thinking, the ultimate good is harmony. The ultimate good is everybody working together, and do away with the fear and the petty stuff. Stop
Mhm.
pointing fingers. Stop fighting. I mean,
It's the reason we're all doing this is to get away with, to get away from what we've already been through,
right,
right? We're
right.
trying to
So
change
don't bring the,
things.
right, don't bring the trauma with you. Leave the
Exactly.
trauma behind and work
Exactly.
together at all levels. Work together in your county assembly, work together in your state assembly.
Exactly.
Everybody do everything you can to bring more people on board so that there are more Americans who are safe. I don't
Mhm.
think everybody is quite getting the point that this is a matter of safety as we're entering this period of time where your assets are up for grabs, your country is up for grabs. Everything in the wide world is up for grabs. You have to organize and you have to stick together in order to bring forward your claims, in order to make your world work. And so all of this petty sniping and all this counterproductive insulting and fighting, it's like, for me, it's terrible because I feel like a school marm with a whole bunch of nasty 5-year-olds. And I don't want to feel that way about my fellow adult Americans. I want everybody to work together and contribute their best to the whole effort. And so this is what we need. What we need is that spirit of community
Mhm.
and that common vision of a better world that we're working toward.
Exactly.
So anything that stands in the way of that, in my view, has to go.
Yeah, the way I look at it is that we need to learn how to communicate with each other better. We need to agree to disagree with people if we don't see eye to eye with what they're doing or how they're doing it or their approach on doing something. Because I'm telling you, when you get more people together, each one of those people will have some good ideas. Doesn't mean we need to use them all, but
Yeah, well, love is the answer. At the end of the day, it's all just practical nuts and bolts stuff
mhm,
applied with some love.
right.
You know,
That's the one thing in our counties here. We treat everybody like brothers and sisters. We love each other. You know what I'm saying? And we protect each other, in any way that we can. I mean, we have people that are getting tickets and we all band together and help them out. It's that's part of what the assembly is about, is making sure, because if something, if we allow them to get away with something on one of our people, then we're allowing it to happen to ourselves, right? So
right,
we need to work together to do this.
right. And sometimes we can't prevent some
Excuse
of
me.
the evils that are being perpetuated by the de facto corporate system.
Mhm,
We did our best to object to the war in Iraq. We objected to the war in Iran.
mhm,
We've done everything that we could, and sometimes it's not enough. But we can still all stand together and we can still say, no,
right.
we can still bring forward the message. We can still recite the logic of life to these people.
Mhm.
And we can still stand together as the employers.
Yeah.
We can still defend each other.
I'm a firm believer that things are going to start happening pretty quick, and we need to be able to record these people and get them on the land as quick as we can. Um, and if we're not ready for it, I don't know what we're going to do. We got to get prepared.
Well, and frankly, I was absolutely stymied this past week. A coordinator trainee saying, "Oh, I'm supposed to get other people involved?" Yes, and once you get those other people involved, you're supposed to share out the work with them.
Mhm,
You're supposed to delegate, 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 delegate.
right.
And each time you get rid of a job and take up another job, you just keep rolling forward.
Exactly.
You nurture those
Well,
people and you bring them on.
what
And
I
you
feel
put
that
them to work.
what I felt the coordinator is basically a training tool for all the people that need to do the work, right? And we're here to, get the information, teach them how they really should be doing things, and then let them take it, and how they feel that it really would work for them. You know what I'm saying? It's like even our election committee right now is starting to move, and they're doing the work. I'm giving the information they need, but they're doing the work. And that's the
Right.
way it needs to happen.
That is the way it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to be bringing them the answers to questions that they have as they undertake the work, but they're supposed to be doing the work.
Right.
And, the more the merrier.
Exactly.
If you've got to lay a basement slab, right?
hmm
That's a lot of hard, brutal work.
Oh, definitely.
But if you got 20 guys taking turns at, doing the mop and bucket routine and, doing the float,
hmm
suddenly it's a lot easier, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I know because I used to build track homes, my family, and you hire as many people as you can to get it all done. It makes it easier, faster. It's
Right.
you just need the help. I just don't understand things, but I just letting you know that we will be using the LRO that I created. It will be online this month, and we're going to use GFG and whatever else we can use.
The heater, I couldn't hear you, Rocky.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying we're going to use whatever we can to get people back on the land. If it's our own software that we're using or GFG or newspapers, whatever. If we can get more access to the LRO, then we'll do that too. But I'm just, putting it out there that this is what we're pushed to do. We're trying to figure out ways that we can get people on the land and get people involved. And we're going to do whatever it takes. We're going to
Well,
stick together.
ultimately, whatever you can accomplish at the county level toward getting people signed up ultimately helps the state.
Right.
So,
Exactly. It's like if I can get the more even jurors that I can get in Clark County or Nye County or the counties around us, we can use
Right.
those for the state. I mean, this is a win-win. It's not some kind of lose somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
I think that there's an unfortunate tendency at the state assembly level, at
Mhm.
least in some states, for wanting to control everything.
Right.
You
I
know?
see that a lot in a lot of the states, especially when I was working with Luis in the model county thing and seeing how many other states, there was 4 or 5 that I could see that there was a lot of pushback in them helping. And I just didn't understand why. Why should they embrace the help?
Well, they should. And, this is inevitable. We are going to have counties. We're
Mhm.
going to have a union state. And
That I think it was last Thursday call or the one prior to that, it went on like 3 hours. But the last 45 minutes of that, you went through the whole thing about how our government is supposed to go. And it was perfect. I loved it. I mean, you went through every aspect with this guy on the phone. And I think everybody should listen to it because that was one good training session that you did.
yeah, well, I covered a lot of different things in that
Mhm.
3-hour rant or even 4-hour rant.
Whatever
And,
it was. My hat's off to you because you hung in there.
May I?
Every once in a while you get me wound up. But
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to cut it short here so other people can talk. But
Anna, may I ask a question,
go ahead.
Lisa? So Rocky, why are you not having your people who wish to be recording secretaries become state recording secretaries at this time? And that way they can record on your county or any other county on the state. Because when you have a county recorder, they can only record on that state, and they're not going to be really able to help the state. And then that way you would have the access that you need.
Lisa, let me give you a little background here. I have 3 people that's been through the recording secretary training for 3 years. I've asked Anna to get them as state recording secretaries. The training was for the state, and we're just not able to get logins for them. But we would love to do that.
that's the problem.
Well, Anna, you know that we have bucolic living law. That's a federation recording platform that Greg and I have established, and it is available for anyone to self-publish and record for free. And Rocky, if you want, I'm happy to have a meeting with you and help in any way possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not the only state that's had this kind of trouble.
Right.
And
Give me a call.
Yeah, I wrote the LRO software. It basically almost mimics the current LRO, It has E-Verify. It has everything. It's ready to run.
Great.
Uploads files, pictures, everything, all kinds of stuff.
We can't
it's
have
actually a little
enough
bit
land
more.
recording offices. We can't have enough.
That's what I believe too. We need some in our counties, some in our states. We need
Yeah.
them all over. If we can get 2 or 3, or if we can get every county to have one, I'd love it.
That's what
There we
should
go.
happen.
Let me give you some insight.
Okay.
When we started all of this, the only options were county or state land recording offices. And you could also publish in the newspaper, of course, but that's expensive. And sometimes the newspapers accept it and sometimes they don't.
Mhm.
So, and what we were seeing was that more and more of the land offices were closing. So that the number of places where you could record were going down precipitously.
Mhm.
And so this alerted us to the importance of having many different options open to people
Right.
so that they could establish their druthers in their political status. And so, yeah, there are all sorts of different options now that we didn't have at the beginning. We now have the GFG system where you can record your political status and intent. There's bucolic living law where you can record not only that, but you can record your land patent information, which is
Mhm.
a great blessing. And you have all of the LROs where, at least in theory, anyone can publish and record their political status choices. The problem from the very beginning was a tendency of looking at the LRO as if it were the beginning and the end point. Ultimately, your state is going to have its own land recording offices, right?
Right.
And it's to the advantage of the assembly to make use of the LRO facility, which we made available to all the assemblies, for their own sake. So from my standpoint, it doesn't matter if the initial recording was through the Global Family Group, or
Mhm.
the initial recording was through publishing in a newspaper, or
Uh-huh.
the initial recording was with a state land office.
Mhm.
What matters is that there is such a recording, there is a record, and the LRO should be anxious to get as many people joining the assembly as possible.
Right.
So it only makes sense that the LRO should be very active.
Mhm.
And there should be a lot of land recording secretaries out there working in the field, so to speak, to bring home the harvest of all the people that need to come home.
Right.
But for some reason, certain states are dragging their feet and they're not cooperating and supporting all these other different organizations that are making the basic recording possible for more
Right.
people.
Right. But I've been a software developer for over 40 years. So doing this is nothing. I'm using my own time to give the state something that we could use, also including, the LRO, right? So have our own state LRO, county LROs. I'm writing software. We're actually writing also a software that just publish things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the newspaper, right? So we're writing some software we can do that too. So if we can get published somewhere else, like our elections or whatever, we'll have software to put it out there that'll be in the public, that we could post it. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to figure out every way that we can to make this happen, right? And we got to do it together. It's the only way it's going to happen. I've spent so much money and so much time doing this. I'm not stopping. We're going to get it done. Just take it time, but we'll do it.
I'm looking forward to that day.
Oh, me too.
Okay, guys.
Anyway, I'll yield and let people talk. Okay.
Thanks,
Understood.
Rocky. Okay, John Russell, you're next.
Thank you. Thank you. Anna, how are you doing tonight?
Fine as frogs here.
Yeah, same as all of us. I have a question here. Our treasurer vetting, she is wondering now, is that going to be done with the Federation? Her vetting?
Basically, the Federation vets coordinators and the marshals at arms because they're Federation positions at this time. And they teach the state assembly members how to vet their own state assembly officials, the chairman, the treasurer, and all the others.
Yeah, because we've heard different stories on that, so I wanted to make sure we had the right information. So thank you for that.
Yeah, they'll
Is there-
direct you toward the right sources.
all right. Is there any meetings, countrywide for the treasury and the banking? Like, the militia has, or the marshal at arms, they have their meetings a couple times a month. Is there anything that we can have our treasurer go to learn more about what their jobs are?
Well, that's a very good question. Right now, we're concentrating on opening up global. And once
Right.
global is up and functioning and people are able to conduct their business, we're going to be working on setting up state banks. And those state banks, by definition, are national banks, because remember, we're nation states, right?
Correct.
So we'll be setting up a national bank for each state, working with people in that state to take over those functions. And then your accounts will be mirrored into the state bank, and you'll be able to control your own state bank. Does
Very
that
good.
make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
But that's a little bit further down the road. And right now, what we want the assemblies to be thinking about is, number one, their own needs as an assembly. And number two, what are the big project needs of your state? What kinds of urgent infrastructure needs do you have? Do you have an urgent need for money to pay for teachers? Do you have an urgent need for extension of electrical service into areas that don't currently have electrical service? Do you need your bridges evaluated and repaired? Those sorts of things, so that people on the ground in each state become the experts in what is needed in their state. And so what needs to be funded. So if you could think take your banking and treasury people aside and say, hey, how much do we need to operate the assembly, and what kind of a budget do we need? In terms of state projects, what kinds of major projects do we have going in our state, or do we need going in our state? Because those are the things that are going to get funded.
Okay, we have about 10 new members signed up in the last 10 days or 2 weeks here in South Carolina. So we're trying to get it going as fast as we can here and get people signed up. We're working hard. We have the new land recording secretaries, and we have them in the South, we have them in the North, Central, all over the state in different areas. So they're all around where the people are that need to sign up. So if somebody has a problem, they're just a few miles away, so they could drive over the house and get things taken care of. So we've got it set up really good. So we're working on things and trying to get it where it's easy for the people to become part of this. So that's about all I had today, and I thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, John.
And we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anna, I never asked you how much time you had, but I know it's 5:34 your time. So what are we looking at?
Well, I guess we'll go till my voice gives out.
Okay. Well, next is Lisa Schaefer.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Neethi.
Hey.
Hey.
We had a discussion this evening on Jural Assembly. We're getting ready to put our public notaries. We're getting ready to call for that within our juror assemblies. They had a couple of questions, and I thought it would be helpful to talk about that here on the coordinator call. First of all, they were asking about the seal and the seal color, what color that seal should be, since it operates both in a sea jurisdiction and on land jurisdiction. So that's question number one. And go ahead, if you want to go ahead and answer that.
Red.
Okay.
If
That's what I thought.
if it's a public notary on our side of it, it's a red seal. If it's a public notary on their side, it's a blue seal.
Okay, all right.
And, you know, it just depends on where the document is being generated. If it's being generated at sea, you know, in the de facto jurisdiction, then in the notary block where it names where the place is, it'll be like the state of Arkansas, you know, county of Clark. Okay, and
Right.
you as the person preparing the document for the notary is going to make that decision. You're going to look at it and you're going to go, okay, well, I've got all my paperwork in place and I'm a member of this assembly. And so I'm operating on the land jurisdiction and I'm going to set up the notary block so it just says Arkansas, not state of Arkansas. I'm going to
Correct.
set it up so it says Willamette County, not Willamette County of or County of Willamette or anything like that. It's just going to say Willamette County. Right?
Essentially very close to what we do as recording secretaries. It just says public notary on it.
Right.
Okay,
And, you know, we're a different public than they are, but we're still public.
right. So the juror assembly would commission then the public notary?
They would.
Okay. And is there a recommended term of service for that?
Generally 4 years.
Okay.
Now you may have to do,
Go ahead.
once you have established your state of state secretaries, okay, and all that, then you'll have more notary functions. But for right now, that should take care of most of what people have to deal with.
Okay. And the training would be very similar then to, for example, a recording secretary training. There's not really a very real specialized training for it. Is that correct?
Right. There are two different functions that well, actually three functions that you typically see a public notary doing. One is as a witness, where someone is going to sign a document and you determine that they are who they say they are. And you watch them sign the document and you say, yes, so-and-so and so-and-so appeared here before me and did sign this in my presence, you know. So you have those sorts of witness notaries. Then you have notary process, where the notary actually sends out the due process about a particular matter, an issue. And they are the ones who receive any answers back or who confirm that no answer was received. So the notary can actually be part of a due process action to make sure that all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, and you can affirm that, yes, the public notary acted as the intermediary and is a witness to this process, and they can affirm that, yes, this was sent because they sent it, and no answer was returned because it was returned to their address, not yours. So at the end of the day, the public notary actually sends the notices, waits for a reply, issues a statement that says no reply was received. Then they send out the second notice. They send it out to the person or corporation that you're trying to address. It has the notary's address. So the notary is in a position to say, yes, a response was received on such and such a date. And, you know, here's the process going forward. So a notary can actually be engaged to do a due process action for you. You're going to have to pay for their time. They're going to have to mail everything out. They're going to have to do a they're going to have to certify whether or not a response was received. And at the end of it, they're the ones that are going to, as court officers, sign off on a declaratory judgment. So that is another possible use of a public notary service. Another use that is common is the witness direct. And this is where a notary verifies actual testimony for, like in a court case, or an affidavit that is actually read before the notary. So there's an element of the spoken word that may be in the notary's hearing that is referencing say an affidavit. You've heard of reading something into the court record? Well, the notary as a court officer can witness you in your actual reading of an affidavit, or your reading into the record of a testimony of some kind. So there you have the notary saying, yes, this person did appear before me and they did read the following affidavit into the record, blah, 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 okay? On this date and in this place and time. You can also have a situation where a notary is asked to witness a deposition. And basically they're just there to witness that a deposition took place on such and such a date and time, and they were present, and so-and-so was questioned about this and that by so-and-so. And, here is a recorded and certified transcript of what went on. And then that can go into any court process anywhere. So those are the primary, most common situations where a notary comes in awfully handy. And again, you get to choose where the notary is being generated from, what jurisdiction it is, by the way you describe the location in the notary block. The other thing that is a high-level notary is an apostille, and that is used in international trade and commerce, where you absolutely double dead have to be able to ascertain who a person is and what their business is going to a foreign state or country. And their paperwork can be apostilled. Now, typically, this only occurs at the state office level, in the office of the governor or the office of the U.S. Secretary of State, if you're actually going outside the borders of this continent. So an apostille is like a specialized notary that's used in international trade and commerce.
So I have one last, with the, in the de facto right now, especially on Ohio, that's done by the Bar Association on Ohio, that commissions the notary, the public notaries. Do we need to send a notice of someone's commission to the Secretary of State or the Supreme Court or the Bar Association? For God's sakes, I hope not. But is there anybody that we need to notify once we commission a public notary?
Well, you should have a little ceremony. You're swearing them in, right? They're going to affirm that they're going to act as a public notary and discharge its duties to the best of their ability, blah, 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 right? So you're going to issue that paperwork that so-and-so and so-and-so has been duly, has completed training to be a public notary and has been commissioned by your court to serve in that capacity and has affirmed their willingness and readiness to undertake the duties of a public notary on behalf of, whichever, the State Assembly of Ohio at this point, or, whichever organization is standing as the government that the notary is working for within that court system, then would be affirming it. Like the state of state now currently affirms all of their public notaries. But you could have international notaries that were working at the level of the governor's office. You see?
Right. But is there anybody in the other jurisdiction that we need to notice that needs to know that we have commissioned a public notary?
It would be the U.S. Secretary of State and the Secretary of State for your state.
We thought so, but that just confirms it. Okay. I see a couple questions in the chat. Can they serve papers on the court for the record as well? I don't think they serve papers. They would send papers, but not serve them.
Yeah, the court of record, usually, if you are going to use a notary for a court of record proceeding, it would be a matter of the notary affirming that the records are certified and have been duly affirmed by, you know, whichever court or whatever they came from as a public record, you know, Bureau of Vital Statistics or, you know, Department of Transportation, whatever it is, the notary can certify that these are true, correct, and complete copies of a certified record, and, you know, put their stamp on it if you want.
So usually if you're going to serve a court, though, let's say we have something we need to serve the court, a particular court, then we would send a process server with the document that's certified or witnessed by the notary public, the public
Right.
notary.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And that's usually, just for anybody that wants to know, that's usually, we have one on Ohio that works in our state capital, and he does it for about $60. Now we have some that won't do it for anything less than 150. So it just depends on your state. You have to look it up. Okay.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're doing. I mean,
Right.
if you want to conduct business in certain locations in the globe, then you have to have an apostille affixed to your trade negotiation package.
And I also see a question in the chat, Anna, that Washington State is saying that in the General Assembly handbook, it says that those have to be elected. But they can be, if they raise their hand, they can just be affirmed, once trained, can be affirmed by the General Assembly, can't they? They don't have to be publicly elected. They just have to be affirmed by the General Assembly.
Right.
Correct?
A public notary works for the public that it serves. So our public notaries work for our assemblies and assembly members. Their public notaries work for their people and their corporations, right? There's a different definition of public here. There's our public and their public. Oh, and also the municipal public.
Right. But I want to clear that up, that it doesn't have to be a public election, and it doesn't have to be an election within the assembly. They can raise their hand, go through training, and then be affirmed. Are they affirmed through General Assembly, or are they affirmed through General Assembly?
Well, they can be affirmed in a public ceremony like anyone else that's an official of the court.
Okay.
And, you know, oftentimes it used to be that when you got a new judge, you also got the notaries and you got the clerks all at the same time.
Okay.
And they all went through a public ceremony and took their oath of office and accepted it and went on from there. So
Okay.
it's that kind of thing where there's a verbal acceptance of the duties, and there's a little scrap of paper that represents that oath or that affirmation,
Right.
and that is kept on record.
Right. And we affirm both on Ohio, we affirm both recording secretaries. That's done at our General Assembly. And I imagine what we'll do is a ceremony for our General Assembly and make that open to affirm any public notaries that raise their hands.
Right. It's a
Okay.
public office. That's why it's called a public notary. And it's serving our public. So it only requires the blessings of the assembly that they're working for and the court system they're working for.
All right. Super. Thank you very much. I yield.
Thank
Okey-dokey.
you. Anna, can I just tack on a little question to that then? So the recording secretaries do need to be elected or they don't? They can also just volunteer as the juror notaries.
Usually recording secretaries raise their hand, volunteer, get the training, and then get their credentials on the LRO system.
Mhm.
That's the way it's
Okay.
supposed to work.
Well, everybody thinks they need to be elected, so that just cleared up a lot.
No, they are not elected members of the state assembly. They are, again, officers of the administration of state, right?
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And Dorothea, you're next. Welcome, Dorothea. I know it's the middle of the night for you.
Hi, beautiful souls. Yes, it's nearly 4 a.m. by me, but yeah, I'm here. It's nice to see you, Anna. I have a question regarding the vendor listings that's happening. That one of our people actually, they are really scared to want to list their business there. And I'm like, okay, explain to me, why do you feel in this way? And they said, okay, Dorothea, I'm trying to get out of the system, right? By not wanting anything registered. I said, but you're not registered, you're listing it. And this person came up with an interesting question that I need to ask you. Asking in the sense of, okay, so when I list my business, if I want a website or a Facebook link or an Instagram, all the social media things that you need to maybe be able to use there to list it, to show your business, everywhere you are registering again by opening a profile to submit it in to have it. If I want to build a website, then I have to register, let's say, a domain name. If I want to do a Facebook, I'm registering my Facebook account. And this person is like, Dorothea, that makes it very difficult for me to want to do my business, and I'm trying to get out because when I see the word register, I feel like red flags going up everywhere. So how will I be able to list my business without going through all the tra-la-la with listing it with the vendor?
Well, one simple way to do that is to make the incorporated entity property owned by a common law trust, and then you have control of it. You can capture that incorporated entity. That's one way of doing it. Another way is to simply remind the GFG people that we're not supposed to have the word register anywhere in anything. And if you can locate any places where it's crept in inappropriately, raise your hand, let them know. It's supposed to be replaced with recorded.
But it's not like that. See, the wording register being on the GFG, it's the fact that this person sees the social media platforms being registered and bringing that URL link onto GFG where you record your vendor so that you have some sort of a profile created for your vendor when you list it. That person feels that there's not something okay with that because now I'm a free living man having my business not being registered. I'm going to list it now with Global, but still you having platforms that you need to use to have your business being advertised, if I can say it like that, like Facebook or Instagram or a website. That's what this person needs. So listing it with Global, I do get you need to have certain things but this person is like totally don't want to go back into that. So that makes it hard, because how will he then list the business if he doesn't want social media having his stuff up on that anymore?
Like I said, you can take an incorporated entity and you can donate it to a common law trust, and you can capture it that way and operate it under common law if you want to. All right.
Okay.
You can also correct GFG because they know that they're not supposed to be using the word registered for anything that has to do with us. You don't need to register your business at all. And in fact, it's advisable not to. Because frankly, most people don't understand that they're giving away their ownership interest in their own business when they register it with a state or state entity.
True.
So,
And then I have something I would love to want to just ask if this is also right. With a recording secretary, let's say you have recording secretaries that was previously trained, they got affirmed and everything, but they kind of stepped away from an assembly. Is this person still allowed to attend training if they are not part of assemblies?
well, typically any kind of educational program that's offered is offered to the public. It's not just for assembly members. It's, offered to enrich everybody. So they can go to any kind of training that they want that we offer. That doesn't mean that they'll be able to operate an LRO office just because they attended the training, but it will give them insight into whatever the topic is.
Oh, I thought so, because that is a confusion going around. You have to serve in an assembly to go for any sort of training, which I was like, I don't think so. So thank you for clearing that up. And love and light. Have an amazing evening.
Thank you, Dorothea. We
Thank you,
can
Dor-
lose sight of the fact that this is a public government. It's an incredible thing. It's a public government being operated by average people.
Mhm.
It's unique. It's wonderful. It's common law. And it can be practiced all over the world, but it's an exceptionally intimate way of governing yourselves. You have the option of making those decisions individually, but you also have a commitment to the public, to the other people, that they also can be brought along. They too can educate themselves. And if they're willing to make the effort, they can be part of this.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, we're simple people, aren't we? Okay, so I just wanted to bring your attention, Anna, to the fact that it's 6 p.m. your time. And so just let me know if you want, us to change anything. Otherwise, we're going to move forward. May I please ask whoever this 813-647-3896 who has their hand up, if you could please identify yourself. I realize you're on a telephone, so you probably can't see the chat. Could you just unmic and let us know who you are? And President Freedom, can you please identify yourself on what state you are?
This is Pietra on Palm Beach. That 813 number is Robert Jacob on Hernando, Florida.
Okay.
He can't see the chat.
Right. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, and this is Michael Johnson out of Ouachita, Louisiana.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, Gerda, you're up next.
Yes, hello, Anna, and hello, everybody. My question concerns outreach, and I wanted to ask everybody what best outreach techniques they have found. I'm talking to a lot of people, and it seems like they're almost inoculated ahead of time not to listen to information that seems to them too good to be true. So I wondered what other people had experienced, if there was any advice for us.
We get a lot of that. We get it about the banking, we get it about the government, we get it about the history, frankly. And the thing is that people believe something or don't believe something according to different standards or different underlying indoctrinations. And so I have found that the thing to do is present them with the information and just let it lie there. It's there for them to investigate in their own behalf. And, you know, as time goes by here, our own experiences will pave the way. I mean, it's one thing to be sitting here on this particular day and time and have somebody tell me, oh, Global Family Bank will never work. You can never do that. Blah, 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 blah. They don't believe it. Well, I know the basis for it. I know the work that's gone into it. I believe it can work. But since it hasn't actually worked yet in terms of providing the transactions, I can't say much beyond saying, well, that's what your opinion is, and go on my merry way. 5 years from now, when the Global Family Bank has been operating for 4.5 years or more, and you know, people have been using it successfully to conduct transactions and to trade AFD and do whatever they need to do for a period of years, well, then it will be self-evident that it works and that it's true, and they will believe it because it works and it's true, and they can see that, okay? So whether you have that kind of instant credibility because they research a topic and come to their own conclusions, or whether you have to go out and prove the concept and actually have it not just a working model, but a working system before they kind of jerk awake and go, oh yeah. It just varies on, you know, the person individually. I myself, in doing this work with our family, found that some members of our family adopted and, you know, understood the underlying facts immediately and went right along and did it. And other people resisted it for a number of years. So it's just an individual response, but don't get trapped in trying to make someone believe something. It's their responsibility what they believe. They are responsible for checking things out and looking at the facts and the, you know, and that's the way it has to be. You just give them the facts. There you go. Start digging. See what you find. You know, from my perspective, we're handling these people everything on a silver platter. They're getting the benefit of research that took other Americans 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? They don't have to start at the very beginning and follow the thread down the rabbit hole and around all the corners because they've already got the references there in front of them. They already know where to look. So I think that our part is to tell them where to look and tell them what we think about it, and then just let them think what they're going to think, because you don't have any choice about belief. People will believe what they believe according to their own reasoning, and people will reject what they reject according to their own ability to research something and come to a conclusion. That was advice I got from the Informer many years ago, back in the 80s. I was talking to the Informer, who was basically a retired spook who decided to become his own quiet form of whistleblower. And he laid out all of this outrageous information. about diplomacy and the Cold War and you know, behold a pale horse and Tom Bearden's research into free energy and so many other things, but especially information about our government and how it was supposed to work and how it wasn't. And I said to him, I asked him the same question you just asked me. This is 35, 40 years ago, right? And he said something that at the time really kind of jarred me, you know, because I wasn't expecting such a hard line. He said, you tell the people the facts and they either believe it or they don't. There's nothing you can do about somebody's beliefs. If they have integrity and they're curious, they'll look it up for themselves. They'll dig even further than you did probably, and they'll come to their conclusions. And that's been my
Lovely.
entire experience.
That's very helpful. Good advice. Thank you so much.
Take care, Gerda.
Glenn, iPad, you are welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm actually Pietra on Palm Beach County, sharing it with him tonight. I thank you for your time. Anna, thank you so much for allowing me to have a question. I'm a recorder on Florida, and I did the training, but I was elected. And I did put my affirmation on the LRO, so I guess there's just an extra step that I was told I needed. So that's fine, but I'm not missing a step. My question is the importance of the voter cancellation proof that we need to have. As I sign people up, I encourage them to get it, and they get it. There are lots of people on Florida that don't have it. How important is it for an ASC or an elected position?
An ASC should have no other ties to any other government. And it's a question of, is the corporation a government simply because it renders governmental services? And it's kind of a thorny question because they are exercising delegated powers of ours. So, number one, in what sense are they another government? Even though they're a foreign corporation, they're acting under the auspices of our government, right?
Right.
Number two, if this is a corporation and we are being identified as shareholders, is that an affiliation with a foreign government sufficient to raise a objection to the definition of a state citizen? Traditionally, we don't allow it. And traditionally, they will give you trouble if you maintain a voter registration and vote in their elections. Because, well, just think about it. You have a corporation which is involved in providing certain enumerated government services. And these people will come in and they vote in your election. And that has a direct effect on who is selected to lead your corporation, who occupies various offices within your corporation. It affects how well your corporation does in terms of its economy and its wealth and its turnover rates and everything else. So you don't want people voting in your corporate elections who aren't really shareholders, right?
Right.
Makes perfect sense. So that's why we want the voter registration severed, especially with state citizens, because we don't want our state citizens getting into trouble. We don't want to cause an offense that would give the corporation a valid complaint against the state citizen, and we don't want the state citizen to get in trouble. Pardon me. By doing something that was prejudicial against the state's interest, but in the interest of the corporation.
Bless you.
Too much
Okay.
fuss.
So if somebody holds an elected position on a assembly pillar that has not done their voter cancellation, that would be very questionable, correct?
Well,
Bless
for
you.
their own sake, they should do it.
Okay.
And if it's not an office that requires an ASC, you
Right.
know, they're taking their chances.
Okay. So like a vice chair of the General Assembly should really have had that done, correct?
They should, for their own protection.
Okay. And one other question. The handwritten letter for the discharge from the military of their commanding officer, how important is that needed for an ASC or an elected position if they're in the military?
If they're currently in the military or if they're retired.
Retired.
If you're retired from the military, they assume that you're a federal citizen unless you send that letter.
Okay, so it's important to do.
It is because the military considers you to be a federal citizen until the day you die,
Right.
unless you make it clear that you are removing yourself from federal jurisdiction.
And that would be if the vice chair of the General Assembly did not do that, that would be of concern as well.
Well, it would be, again, an issue that would be very important for him personally, because he could get in trouble. Even though he's retired, if they consider him a federal citizen, they can continue to interfere in his life and in his operations because they are looking at him as a federal citizen still, despite whatever he may have said later.
Okay.
If they don't have notice of it, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
And so the military can be very hardcore about these issues because they want to retain as many officers, especially as they possibly can, because they're actually charging us for those retentions.
Okay, so it's of no concern to the assembly and any work that we do. It's just his personal concern then.
It is his personal concern. I mean, he could be thrown in the brig. And we don't want that.
Okay.
We want him to come all the way home and be safe and sound and standing on his own 2 feet on his own dung pile, as they say. And
so that doesn't make him I'm sorry.
It doesn't make him a bad guy so far as we're concerned, but the military, you know how the military is.
So
If
that would
you're
make
in,
him
you're
a
in.
dual.
If you're out, you're out.
Right. So that would make him a dual citizen then.
And yeah, it would. What it would do is it would make him an ASN. It would make him an ASN for purposes of the state assembly, and it would make him a U.S.C British territorial citizen as a dual political status.
Okay. So him holding an office in our government is not a problem?
It's not a problem as
For
long
us.
as it's not an ASC office.
It is an ASC office.
There are a lot of ASN offices that he can hold without any question or problem.
Okay.
But when you enter that international jurisdiction, which you do as an ASC, then you have the obligations of a U.S.C British territorial citizen attached to you.
Okay.
And there it becomes a conflict of interest.
Right.
Because the British subject cannot serve a foreign crown.
Okay.
And the American, on the other side of it, can't serve a foreign government other than his state, if he's an ASC. So you see that ASC commitment to no other government means no other federal government, no other foreign government. You're not a subject of the King of Britain or Belgium or, you are an American, and your affiliation and your loyalty is 100% to your state of the union, which is a nation state. It's a separate country.
Okay.
So you can see the problem that arises if you are a British subject and you go to Puerto Rico and you decide that you're going to be an American, right?
Right. Okay. So this person has the elected vice chair, he's elected General Assembly chair, he's an elected justice, and these paperworks aren't completed. So one other question, the importance of the Bivens decision. There's two parts. There's the one part, you answer 3 times, then there's the second part. How important is it to do both parts in a state, a General Assembly meeting?
Again, it's your own safeguard.
Right.
You
So
know?
if we don't do the second half, is that a concern?
Yes, it's a concern because all these things are put in place for your safety. There's no other reason for them.
Okay.
You know, severing your voter registration, that is for your safety. So that
Okay.
you don't run afoul of being accused of illegally voting in a foreign corporation's elections when you're not a shareholder.
Right.
You know, same thing with the paperwork serving notice on your branch of service that you've officially retired and returned home to your birthright political status. I mean, think of the U.S. services as something like the French Foreign Legion. Okay, you're all somewhat familiar with the idea of the French Foreign Legion. All these different guys from all over the world come and they serve in the French Foreign Legion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they're done, right? They
Right.
either die or they retire somewhere. They go to Casablanca and become a businessman, right? So it's sort of the same way here. Again, you're dealing with a foreign mercenary service. Even though that comes hard to the ears for our service members, that is nonetheless what they've been doing since the Civil War. And so if you don't sever from that presumption that you're acting as a mercenary, a privateer of the British king, or the British monarch, I should say, then you can be held accountable. Just
Right.
like people are held accountable for taxation. All this stuff is foisted off on us, but nonetheless, if we don't object, it becomes our law. It becomes our obligation for lack of protest.
Okay. So that's great information. Thank you so much for that. I just want to put on the record that the Bivens decision has been questioned for months and is one of the reasons for the ban. And I'll leave it there and I yield. Thank you.
Yeah, the Bivens decision, again, it's with the reason we do that is to protect the assembly from people that come in from other governments and other publics, okay? And they come in for a variety of reasons. You know, some are people that were born in this country and they're interested in restoring their birthright status as nationals, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's incredibly legitimate. All right, you're an American. There are other people that come in who are there for shady purposes. They're there to basically spy on us and see what we're doing. And then there are a third kind of character that comes in, and they're actually there trying to actively cause trouble from the inside. They're acting as an infiltrator or instigator of some sort, trying to get people to do something that's harmful to them or which is harmful to the organization. So you got these 3 different groups that come into the assembly, and they have different motives and they have different modes of operation.
Okay. So by us asking to have the full Bivens decision read is one of the reasons somebody was banned, because that's what we wanted to have done and he wouldn't do it. So I just needed that clarified. Thank you so much.
It's not a real big deal. It takes another couple to
Right.
3 minutes.
Right.
And it makes all the difference in terms of protecting yourselves
Right.
and protecting your assembly.
So that wouldn't be considered rhetoric, inflammatory, a disruptor, changing the agenda. It wouldn't be considered all that nonsense.
No,
Okay,
no, it's there
Thank you.
for your protection. That's why it's
wonderful.
there.
Appreciate it. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Linda. Linda Hendel, you're up next. Anna, you still doing good?
She probably fell asleep.
No, I couldn't get unmuted. I'm so sorry.
Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Miss Anna, I was just voted in as the militia chairperson at Arkansas. We're doing our swearing in tomorrow. Last night at the meeting, I was introducing that probably about a month ago, they had voted for us to go ahead and add first responder in under militia. And I was talking about that and was told that I could not do that and that it could not be added, that it would be changing the meaning of all of it. It really turned out to be a horrible thing. But so somebody suggested asking you. So that is my question.
Okay. There are a couple of things that the militias typically get into. One of which is trying to change the name of the militia. And I just want to make it real clear for everybody that we call them the State Assembly Militia for a reason. So in your case, it would be the state, it would be the Arkansas Assembly Militia, right?
Yes.
Or the Florida Assembly Militia. The reason that we do that is so that everybody is clearly identified as a well-regulated militia of the state. If you call it something like the Arkansas Defense Force or the Arkansas First Responders or something else that may be perfectly logical and may describe your intention of what you're doing, right? You
Yes.
can run into trouble. It can backfire on you, and you wind up having people say that there's something else or other than a state assembly militia, because after all, they're called the Arizona troopers or something, you know? So
Right.
you want to be careful about the name of your actual militia and keep it the Arkansas Assembly Militia, because that's your golden card that identifies you as an assembly militia, and you're protected under the Constitution. And they can't
Okay.
come in and say that you're something else. Okay, so that's for your protection too. So that's number one. Now, number two, we do have first responders. And we welcome first responders. We need first responders in state militias. And that can be a wide variety of people. It can be licensed paramedics who are ASNs. They can have a paramedic license and be an ASN and be in the militia. It could be a nurse. Registered nurses are in a odd position, a conflicted position, but nonetheless, if they're ASNs and they are working in a private capacity, it doesn't necessarily have to affect their job titles and licensing. So you can have a wide variety of people in your state militia, your state assembly militia, that are first responders, firemen, ambulance crews, all sorts of people, wonderful people that go out of their way to help others. Okay, either professionally or as retirees. We have a lot of retired doctors who come in and serve on the militia. And their experience in triage and in diagnosis and in basic skills like setting bones and things are invaluable. So yes, we want first responders. We want to be among the first responders. When there is a disaster, when we have members that are out in, Pine Bluffs, Nebraska, and there's a flood, we want to be able to reach our people, and we want to be networked with other public safety and first responder organizations so that we can be sure that our people get all the help they can get. And so, yeah, go forward. Build that militia.
Thank you very much for your time. Have a great night.
I hope that was a good enough answer.
Yes, ma'am.
We also will say that there's been questions about the PKTF. Now, the Federation, not the federal government, established the PKF initially and primarily to form a bridge work between all the public safety organizations in each state and each region so that everybody knows who everybody else is. And the hope is that we're not going to have a continuing situation like we had in North Carolina, where the people, us, wound up toe to toe, with holstered guns, looking into the eyes of FEMA agents and saying in no uncertain terms, yes, we are going to go down that road. And yes, we are going to fly that helicopter into that remote location. And yes, we are going to deliver this food. And no, we're not going to surrender this food to you because that's not your job. It's our job. And, we had to go through hell during Hurricane Helene with obstruction from FEMA because they thought that they had to control every aspect of the local population's response and the interstate response to the disaster. Well, I can tell you right now, there'd be a good many people that are breathing and alive right now that wouldn't be if we had gone ahead and taken FEMA as the authority in the matter. But it turns out that the actual authority is the living people on the land and soil, not FEMA. And it came down to a big showdown with them in the governor's office, reading them the Riot Act out of their own constitution. So, we want to avoid having that kind of, the time to have those discussions is now when there's not a hurricane, okay? The time to have that discussion is now in between the next flood or the next tornado. And so that's why PKTF is there, is to harmonize and to educate and to be able to work with these various public safety organizations. So even if they're there to serve British subjects and we're there to serve Americans, if they're all suffering and they're all in the same the same area, then we need to work together in the name of human life and safety. Okay, so that's what the PKTF is there for, is to form that network, that shield that saves lives, that saves livestock even, that preserves bridges and roads and infrastructure, that rebuilds, that recovers bodies. We recovered over 600 dead bodies. And that's a gruesome task, especially a week or two into it when they're decaying. It's a terrible thing that you have to do, but you have to do it. And, you've got communities that are traumatized. You've got loved ones who have out of their minds. And yet somebody has to drag that body bag out into the brush and dig that dead body out of the brush pile and secure the remains and get it to a facility where they can be identified. There's a lot of stiff stuff that happens out there. And, we flew rescue missions. We, brought in heavy equipment. We brought in supplies, and all that stuff was kind of spur of the moment. It was at cross purposes with FEMA most of the time. So don't have any reservations about PKTF snooping into your militia business, because their purpose isn't to snoop. Their purpose is to help. Their purpose is to network and to provide whatever kinds of support they can provide. And if that's a communications network, great. If that's funding, great. If it's surplus Army tents, great. If it's training, go for it. They're trying to work out that our efforts are understood and aren't going to waste, and so that everybody is safe.
Yep. Thank you, Anna. All right, Marlene, you're up next. And then we have Robert Jacob and Michael Johnson, Anna. So you're almost at the end here.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neethi, for staying. And you know, I know you're on the East Coast, so this is getting late for you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Anna.
Appreciate you, Anna. Quick question for a recording secretary training class that John and I do once a month for all 50 states. And one of the questions was, if you have a notary, say from the bank, notarize a document, and like your common carry, can you still put your seal on it after it's been notarized?
Yes, you can. You can
Okay.
put your little red thumbprint right over that blue signature of the notary and write your own name on top of that. And there you go. You have now captured the notary.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. I yield and have a beautiful weekend.
You too, Marlene.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marlene. All right, Robert Jacob, you're up.
Hello. Thanks so much for letting me talk again. I didn't get a chance to thank you last week. I was the last guy to ask you a question, Anna. And I thank you so much for all of the information you gave me on that particular topic. I got a couple of questions for you that you might or might not be able to answer for me. So I've got a situation with my phone. It's a real short scenario. My mom set up the family account. She passed away in 2019. My dad took it over, and then he passed away this past January, which left me without a phone number today because they shut my phone off and without any notice or anything. And so I'm on a temporary phone, and in order to get my phone back on or recapture my number before they give it to somebody else that I've been networking with for years and years and years, I need to come up with a couple of death certificates, and I'm unsure about where to go. I was thinking Bureau of Vital Statistics, but maybe you can hone me in on it.
Well, normally you can get a death certificate from your state vital statistics or from the coroner's office. And when it's a relatively recent death, the coroner's office is probably fastest. The
Okay.
funeral home that actually took care of the body afterward, they have a direct association with all of the state agencies, and they can order death certificates for you. In fact, most of them offer that as a free service of the funeral home. So you can also go through the mortician, and they can put you in direct contact with the coroner that handled your case.
Okay. My dad passed away in Louisiana, and I know they're under Napoleonic law. Is there anything special I should know about that state regarding
Well,
this?
they'll still be able to put you in contact with the coroner that confirmed your father's death and issued the certificate and all that. They'll know. And you can go
Okay.
through the coroner's office in that county, or you can go through the mortician that did the work for you.
Okay. Thank you for that. And the other question that I had, when you were talking about notaries, you got me thinking about a manual for notaries that I had downloaded off the internet, and that was somewhere, it was in the late 1880s that this manual came from. Now, the internet being what it is, you have to take some of that stuff with a grain of salt, but one thing that I stuck out in my memory for all these years with that manual was that it said that 3 notaries can form a tribunal and override a Supreme Court justice in their decision. Is that true?
Well, basically, any 3 court officers in our system can form a tribunal. And that means a military tribunal can be 3 officers of our military. It can be 3 officers of our, one of our courts, especially a county court. It can be, I think 3 sheriffs in a group can come together under the auspices of the state court because of the way the state recognizes the county as the supreme peacekeeping force. There are a couple of other, I'm not drawing up the exact information, but yes, there is a provision for us to have tribunals in our courts and with our court officers.
Well, I had actually printed out this stuff, and I had been working. I was fighting the de facto over some stuff, and was working with a notary public, and you know, I was trying to let him know how, you know, how much more power he had than what they had told him, and gave him my copy that I had printed out. And the next time that I went to talk to him, he wouldn't open the door. He wouldn't give me back the copy. He told me to go away. And I'm not sure, you know, if the de facto he got was people in the de facto, and they told him it was everything that it was in there was all bogus, or if they got scared and they told him I was crazy, or the paperwork was not legitimate. But anyway, the specific thing that I was interested in had to do with the notary, because you know, a public notary, I was thinking about doing the training for that, and that perhaps we could get three public notaries to start overriding some of these cases that people are having problems with, like you know, right to travel and such.
Well, most of those are coming through the district courts, and right now the district courts are under real heavy fire to be removed entirely from the states of the union. County courts don't typically know a whole lot about the issues, and the state courts are cringing in their boots. Most likely what happened with your public notary is that someone said, oh, hey, that's not our public. Because you have to remember, you got all these different publics. You've got the American public that are part of the pre-Civil War states and the states of the Union. You've got the public that should exist from the American Federal Republic that's been dormant for umpty years. You've got the public created by all the British subjects, right? And then you have the public created by all the Holy Roman Emperor or Empire municipal citizens. So which public are you talking about? What
we're back.
Happened? He probably said, "Oh no, that's not our public. Those are enemies at war." You know, because we get mistaken for one of the other publics.
So, we're right back to what we were talking about last week about the obfuscation with the word public. We need some definition. Which public are you talking about?
Right, and it helps to say we're talking about the states of the Union and a state of the Union prior to the Civil War. And if you're in one of the Western states, you would need to add, and by the way, Idaho or Nevada or Utah has been enrolled as a state of the Union since October 1st, 2020.
Well, I did take note that the manual that I spoke of, even though it was in digital form, was post-Civil War. So I don't know how much that made a difference. I've been trying to find one pre-Civil War.
They didn't have public notaries. Originally, they didn't have public notaries. Public notaries are part of the Roman government. We didn't have public notaries until the constitutions were adopted. So
yeah, but that was that was at the very beginning of our government, though. We had, you know, quite a few years before we got to the Civil War.
Right.
So if they are Roman, that'd be Roman Curia, so that'd be municipal. And when did the municipal come about in Washington, D.C.?
1790.
That's what I thought. So,
But still, that's early days for our republic and our actual American government.
well, I know there's a distinction between public notary and notary public as far as jurisdiction goes. So you're saying we just didn't have public notaries prior to the Civil War?
We didn't have them prior to the constitutions, is what I said.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so what happened is that the municipal government brought along the ancient Roman tradition of having the public notary. And so in interacting with them in their organization and the way they do things, then the land and sea also adopted the use of public notaries. But when you're looking at it, you're looking at the land jurisdiction government that's being defined is actually the old Federal Republic. Remember, we took over the operations and claimed the right to take over the operations of the Federal Republic because we're the delegator of all the delegated powers that the Federal Republic received. And when the Federal Republic can't perform its duties for whatever reason, it falls back to us. It does not just get parceled out to other random service providers. It goes back to the delegator. And so we are enabled to do the work of the Federal Republic because we basically created the Federal Republic and its job contract. So this is where I talk about mowing your own lawn. Okay, you hire somebody to come mow your lawn. He breaks his leg, he can't do the job. What happens? You as the employer are stuck with a choice. You can mow your own lawn, or you can hire someone else to mow it for you. Right? This is what happened with the Federal Republic. We hired this group of Americans under the auspices of the states of America, right? We delegated land jurisdiction powers to them to operate on behalf of the rest of us, right? And we did the same thing. We delegated sea powers to our British territorial service providers, and we delegated air powers to the Holy Roman Empire service providers. So when it comes to public notaries, those are the three entities that use public notaries. It was not our American government. It was the federal subcontractors that used notaries. And it's
well,
all
you raised I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought I caught a moment there. Well, since I've got some momentum here, you raised a question in my mind regarding the use of writs in our as sovereign Americans. So are you saying that we did not use public notaries? Or that wasn't necessary for us to create a writ and put it into a court?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Our common law writs were basically documents that could be witnessed by other people, other living people. And we did not need notaries. We do not have a tradition of notaries. Notaries are, if you look up the office of the notary public or the public notary, you'll find that this was an office of the late Roman Empire, going back to about the 1st century, actually. And these were officers of Caesar. They were petty administrators in the civil service of the Roman Empire. So these are Roman offices, and to conduct commerce from the land to the air or from the sea to the air, either way, the Holy Roman Empire, right, required the use of notaries that they knew and that they selected and certified and patted on the head and said, okay, well, they're a good, reliable witness, and we'll make them an officer of the court. So that was all Roman Empire stuff that got brought over here, and which our federal subcontractors, including the American federal subcontractor, used in its work with the Holy Roman Empire subcontractor. So
Well,
no,
we're dealing.
Yeah.
We're dealing right now with that Holy Roman Empire in the form of these municipal courts. Would our documents that we're having to deal with these people have more strength if we don't go to a notary? And would they accept them without a notary?
Well, okay, the notary is part of their system, not our system. So they're obligated to honor their own witness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're operating the powers of the Federal Republic as the original delegator of all of the powers of the Federal Republic, which we were and which we are, then we have a position to play that we wouldn't normally have.
A higher standing.
Well, we've got the American government, plus we have the delegated powers of the old Federal Republic to take care of in the interim. Because remember, for us, there was no Reconstruction. We're just operating as if the Federal Republic no longer exists. And because it's been dormant for 165 years, right? Okay, so we've taken over the delegated powers that we originally gave the Federal Republic. Just like you'd take over from the guy that was supposed to mow your lawn. Okay, they're inoperable. They've been dormant for 165 years. All of the delegated powers that we delegated to them were surreptitiously, secretively taken over by these other two foreign subcontractors. So we jerk awake and we say, hey, that's not Joe over there. He's not supposed to be mowing my lawn. That's Ivan. What's Ivan mowing my lawn for? I didn't tell Ivan to mow the lawn. You know? Oh, that's Sean over there. He's mowing my lawn. He's not supposed to be mowing my lawn either. Oh, well, whoa, wait a minute. That's Guido. Guido is mowing my lawn. What's Guido doing mowing my lawn? Right? These are foreign subcontractors. They may have work that they're supposed to be doing for us, but it's not that particular job. Okay? So when we wake up and we go, there's something wrong with this picture. I hired Joe to do that. Why isn't Joe doing it? Oh, well, it's because, Joe went out of business. Nobody told me. It's because Joe had an accident and he hasn't been able to do this particular job for 165 years. So instead, these other guys came in and divvied up the work among themselves and just kept it on the QT here. Didn't tell the Americans, and we were left with their system.
Yeah, it's a delegation of delegation.
Right. Exactly. And so now we're back in the position of, okay, well, we have to either mow our lawn or hire someone else. We're not organized enough to face up to the realities of having to hire someone else to do those delegated tasks. So guess what? We get to do them ourselves for now. To the extent they get done, it's on us. It's not the responsibility of the Brits. It's not the responsibility of the Holy Roman Empire subcontractors or successors. Now, they may not like it because that was extra money and extra power for them. But we never authorized them to do anything with regard to our land jurisdiction, and that's a matter of public record. They've been doing things on the basis of a claim of acquiescence. We didn't tell them they couldn't, so they took that as a contract. They took that as well, if they don't tell us not to do it, then it's okay for us to do it, and we can bill them for this additional service, and we can exercise those additional powers. Well, guess what? We came back home. We came back from over the sea, right? And we said, no, we never authorized you to do that service for us. We're going to take over and do that ourselves now. Thank you very much. And that includes operating the public notary service for the Federal Republic, which, remember, is the entity that has to deal with all these other federal subcontractors over here.
Well, again, I am not sure if I got if I just missed it or if I am just not comprehending. But the position that we should be taking is we are your bosses, and the question had to do with the use of a notary for any of our documents being put in with them, or not using it, and that would have more power. And I'm not again. I'm just looking right now for a path to deal with these courts while they still are here. With regards to the people that are getting in trouble or are in trouble at the moment with them. One of their favorite tactics, if you don't show up into court, is to put out a warrant for failure of the defendant to appear. And I had that happen while I'm standing right there in front of them.
I know, and they don't even have the right to issue a true warrant. What they're doing are impound orders, and they're calling them warrants. That's what's really amazing.
Because that's like a war. It's warrant, right, Anna? War.
Yeah, war rant. But it's also they're putting it out for a legal fiction, not for you, and you can't explain that to the Leos that come to arrest you.
Right. Which is part of the reason that we are pulling the plug on their funding. They all need to be re-educated. All these courts that are basically operating as under false pretenses have to be shut down and returned to their proper station and standing. It's a huge job, and we're it. This is it. We have to do this.
Can't happen fast enough. Listen, I can ask you questions from now till tomorrow, and we wouldn't cover all the questions I have regarding picking your brain on lawful matters. But I've occupied a fair amount of time, and we are running long here on the East Coast, so I'm going to gracefully bow out and yield and let somebody else take the floor. But thank you so much for your time.
You got one of the puppies, Anna. You got one of the puppies.
Yes, I got one of the puppies.
I'm so glad.
She's been here. She's been underneath the table the entire time, warming my feet.
Oh, good. I thought you had none of the puppies, but you have one.
Yes.
Oh, good.
This is Bonnie, the accidental corgi.
Yes, I know. Hi.
She's
Anna,
an old-fashioned corgi.
Anna, can I ask you something in summarization of what Robert was talking about?
Sure.
Okay. So, number one, the box number 3, I'm going to your Grana boxes. Box number 3, the Confederation, right? That's the 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
So then box number 4 can also be known as the Federal Republic, because it was the Federation, like the subcontractor for the Federation, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm just checking that. And then also, in summary to what he was saying, because he was asking about the 3 notaries. Number 1 for the tribunal, would that be the public notaries or notary public or both? And also, would 6 witnesses work in the same fashion?
Well, see, the federales have such things as petit juries. We don't.
Okay. Yeah.
So all that stuff is federal work that we get stuck with when we mow our own lawn.
Does it still override the judge?
Right.
Okay, I'm just checking for for remedy purposes. And then would 3 of our former military guys who have corrected their status work for that as well?
Right. Well, see, again, you're talking about federal service.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about federal court.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about federal citizenry.
Right.
So yes, they can form a tribunal,
mm-hmm.
and they can say arrest a murderer. And if they have caught him in the act, they can render judgment in the field and hang him on the spot.
Because that's our jurisdiction, our way.
No, that's because that's the military way. That's the military court of justice. That's the military code. And they can do that under certain conditions, which are created by declaration. So there's
because
a lot
they
of
operate
power.
like just us, justice. Their justice is just us, right?
It's supposed to be just us, meaning them, okay?
Right.
They're
right.
supposed to be judging their own people,
Mm-hmm.
not us, their
Right.
employers, their own people.
Yeah.
There's, and that's true for the British subjects, and that's true for the Holy Roman Empire subjects. They're supposed to be judging their own people, not us.
So in the chat, they're asking, even if they're retired, the former military can operate that way, and they're declared, or
Well,
even
the
if
way
they're
that
not
they,
declared.
whether it's right or not, what they did is when they occupied this country, they created an entire secret government that
Right.
is
With the
composed
codes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they created an entire secret government of military retirees.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry, I'm not trying to take up any time. We'll move on to Michael Johnson. And yes, look, he needs to read a lot of your articles. I know you've written about a lot of this stuff. I just wanted to kind of tie it together because I know there's other folks. It was just bringing up questions that I've heard other people say. So thanks for entertaining that, Anna. And I yield. Michael Johnson, you're up next.
How everybody doing tonight? Thank you.
So far, so good.
All right. Thank you, Anna, for all your work. Thank you, Neethi, for all your work that you do. Thank everyone for all the work that they do in all their assemblies. I had one thing that I wanted to, it was like more of like a suggestion in something, but also I wanted to speak about something that's going on out here in Louisiana that I was listening to people talk, and when judges make decisions, see, we have been overlooking that they have an oath, right, to the Constitution and to the state. Every state in their constitution, in the articles, it says that the judge cannot practice law. Anytime the judge advocates in any decision, any way, in any case, because they're only administrators, that article would disbar them, get dishonor, they would have to be removed. We can take all of these bad actors down, but we just have to be smarter and use what we already have. We have all the information, we have all the knowledge. And that's because out here in Louisiana, I have been going to court since 2021. And I have been going to court every month. I don't mind because I've been preparing myself for this moment. But I've noticed that their authority is only given when we give it to them, right? But their oath, when you go and they say, well, how do you plea? And what we fail to understand, when we say not guilty and they say, well, we enter a plea for you, they're violating their oath of office. That removes them and there's null and void every case that they didn't had ever since then. So everyone that has done that, go into your state, look at the article, find it, disbar them, tell them. I went to my district attorney, I went to court Monday. I told him, I said, 18 U.S.C. 4, missing prisoner of a felon. Let me explain something to you. The judge, when he asked me how do I plead, I said, I'm not here to enter a plea. I'm only here to settle the matter. Why am I enter a plea for you? I said, I object. You're practicing law from behind the bench. Violation of Article 5, Section 24B of the Louisiana Constitution. Everything you do is null and void. They ignored it. Boom. So he said I was on probation. Boom. He locked me up for the 180 days. I did 180 days because I never signed any probation paper. Now they've kidnapped me. Now I've told the district attorney that you need to go find these papers because this is going to be a good day for the Nationals, especially in Louisiana, because we are making moves and I'm standing on my square for my people. And I just want everyone to know that we need to attack their oath, disbar them, remove them. We don't have to keep talking to them about anything because we have the power. And that's what we need to put in our minds and just set that. But the thing that I want to say, Anna, tonight, I heard a young lady talking, and she was saying about like the apps or something. On Global, there's a I got my certificates as soon as they brought out the educational things. But like other people, is there any possibility that other people that's not nationals can receive that information that's in that educational program? Because I think that will be something that will open people's eyes. Because us just talking, okay, it's fine, but they want to see something. But it's very detailed, it's very educational, and I think people will get a grasp on it if we can be able to get that out to the public and not just hold it for people who have received their status correction. And I yield.
Is that one of the Global Family Bank programs you're talking about, or?
Yes, ma'am. The educational certificates, like the educational programs they have that explains like how things happen and how we got into these situations. See, the public can't get to it because I had told people about trying to go onto the educational site, but without having their status corrected, they can't get into the information, and that's a discredit to them because we need for them to know what is happening that they see because and it's very educational, it's very simple, it's very just something that they can get a grasp to light a fire in them. We just need to light a fire. Once you light the fire, it'll spread.
You're right, Michael. It has spread, and it is spreading. All we need is a little more wind behind that, right? We'll get a regular wildfire of people waking up as to who they really are and what they're really owed.
Well, no,
Anna, I think that they have what he's talking about. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that they have what you're asking for, Michael, on their Telegram channel, on the Global Family Group Telegram channel.
Telegram channel. Okay, I'm gonna direct people to the Telegram channel then because I was trying to direct people just so they can go and get the educational knowledge so they can just start their journey because a lot of people they don't have no idea. And Anna, to you, like I don't know what year it was, but I heard you first tell people to just go to your county and write down on a paper, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not a something. And I did that like way back before we even had 928s. So, I know how the fire has started. I've been here from day one. You know what I mean? So I'm with you and I'm with us. So, man, the people is standing and I'm proud of us. And I just want you to know, I want everyone to know I love y'all and continue on the fight. And, man, it's just a beautiful day. Every day is a beautiful day.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Louisiana.
I love the Louisiana people. They're so excited and their hearts are so big. They're so big, Anna, right? Like it's just
Americans all over this country are wonderful people.
Yes, they are.
You know?
They are. I'm 100% agreement. I agree with you, Anna.
I'm not just saying that to go, no.
No, they're so good. It's so fun. It's so good. Okay, so we got Renee and we have John Russell again for a second time. Are you good, Anna? It is, I don't know. It's 11 o'clock here. I don't know what time it is for you now. 11,
late enough.
My math is not good this late. Okay.
It's 7:10 here.
It's
Okay,
7.
Renee,
Yeah,
let's
7:10.
kick it out and get it done.
Yay. Anna, I would like to ask, so this may have been asked before, but I don't know. So I'm just going to broach the conversation. I'd like to ask what steps are currently being taken in response to real ID requirements and the federal regulations that are being implemented. I understand that 16 states have already adopted these measures, and I would appreciate clarification on how this is being addressed moving forward, particularly as these initiatives are being presented under the auspices of protecting children. I hope this is not an overly complex question that would take up too much time during the session. I respect your time. And so if needed, I would be more than willing for this to be addressed at a later date.
Well, unless you're working for a federal corporation or one of their state-of-state franchises, it flat out does not apply to us. But on top of that, we already have our real ID. It's called our thumbprint. So, we don't lack for a thumbprint on our state credentials, and it can be easily reproduced right there on the spot anytime anyone needs to know who we are. So we already have our real ID, and it can be verified through E-Verify. And so actually, I haven't had any trouble or heard any reports of trouble from us using our state IDs. There may, our state credentials. There may be some little pockets of places here and there, different administrative units where the memo hasn't hit. But for the most part, all the NSA people that we've dealt with have stopped and kind of gone back and given us the snake eyed look, and then thought about it and made a few phone calls and came back and said, okay, well, there's your ticket and there's your fees and everything. You're fine. Go ahead. Get on board. So we haven't had any real problems. We've had some delays while they've been doing the snake-eyed routine, but other than that, we haven't had any problem with real ID demands.
Well, I did put a link in the chat, and it's saying that some of them, the states are denying boarding access if you don't comply with the federal laws that they put in place. So
But
it's
we
just
are
a little.
in compliance. That's the point. We already have our real ID. God gave it to us, all right? So they're just misunderstanding the federal law. They're misunderstanding the federal requirement. We're already fully identified by God himself right here. He gave us our own unique identifier.
All the ports have accepted our 1779 and our 2 witnesses, Anna, even if they don't accept that credential card. We've been able to fly all over the place with just the paperwork.
Yeah, well, and the U.S. Secretary of State is responsible. If any organization doesn't immediately roll over and go, then it's the U.S. Secretary of State that has to answer for it.
Yeah, we never participate with the photograph. We tell them every single time we object, we will not participate. And they absolutely bend the knee. I mean, they act like it's a bad problem and whatever, but they do it. So
yeah, well, we are a reminder of reality, and they don't like it. Okay, but if we want to retain our freedom and we want to retain our guarantees under the constitutions, we have to enforce them. We have to put on our boots and we have to grab our pail. And we have to walk up there to that blueberry patch and actually pick those blueberries.
be brave and courageous. It works. You have to stand up and demand. And, you know, if you use your voice, Anna, you said, where was that woman's voice? We were talking about some situation sometime, and you said, well, where was her voice?
Right. Where was her voice? You know, where are all these people who are being raped and pillaged and plundered and bullied, and who are sitting there quietly in the corner just accepting this?
Not here. Just say no. Your no is your no, right, Anna?
Right. You ever heard the saying, my word is my bond? We don't need any gold bond. We don't need any labor bond. Our word is our bond. Hello.
They're gonna try to solicit you. They're gonna try to sell you the crap that they're selling, but you're just gonna say no.
Right.
And they're gonna threaten you, and they're gonna that's them soliciting you.
Yeah. Right. And one of the most effective replies to them is one that Neethi stumbled on all by herself, which is, we don't accept solicitation.
I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth.
Right. I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth is a wonderful way of putting it, because they're speaking legalese. They're not speaking plain English. And when you put them down like that, what are they going to say?
They understand, which we know that means they stand under. They understand. It's not about comprehension. They understand the minute you say that, and they don't like it. They're going to waste a lot of time. You're going to it's going to definitely take over an hour.
May I?
Yes.
You might add in there, I do not recognize you. You're foreign to me.
100%. You're alien.
That's right. I yield.
All right. Anna, we got John Russell for round 2. And then I think you did it.
If I could just say, Anna, I sent a couple emails to you, and let's see, Patty Anderson did also. It's regarding our funds that were removed from our bank account, and we're trying to get the funds back in our bank account, and so we need some help with that. And that's the end of our conversation that we need for tonight, and you can relax and have a bubble bath.
What a wonderful suggestion. But first,
you deserve it. I yield and I thank you.
I'm going to feed my hungry dog.
I
Thanks
yield
much,
my
guys.
thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. And have a fantastic evening. Hope that you are using the time to take extra baths and relax because you deserve it. Thank you so much for everything. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Good night.
You know.